If you are anything like me, you love making websites for coffee shops because I love coffee and it just looks so nice and aromatic. I don't know how to describe the sensation when I work with beans and coffee. It just looks good, and the color of it, the color schemes also look good. Ironically enough, I don't think I've ever visited a coffee website in my life. I will just go and find the shops. We are looking at making this header today for the coffee shop page that we started in the previous tutorial where we worked on that contact form. And we'll be looking in particular at two aspects today, and one is called a gradient. Now I've got an image here in the background and I've applied a gradient to it. On this side you will see it's a little bit orange, and on this side it is darker brown, beige, that kind of color, almost that kind of color. And a gradient is a very common and popular feature lately in website design as an overlay for images or even just as a standard background. So having a gradient and understanding how it works is quite important. The other feature is these two buttons next to each other. And you will say, well, we've done buttons, right? So what's so magical about this? Actually, getting two buttons like this next to each other on a page is not the easiest thing in the world in many page builders. You have to go through quite a workaround by bringing in different columns and then sorting them and dragging the margins and dragging the padding and etc. But page builders are catching up, and I think Brizy does the best job at that by allowing you to inline. We put them in the same line, these two buttons. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then of course you learn more about Brizy and this level 1 tutorial. And that's why we do a little bit of recycling so you understand how things work. Let's make this hero banner or hero image for the top 10 of our page. And what we'll do, let's close this, go into our WordPress, and let's go and find that page that we had opened previously. Go to pages and you can click on all pages. And up here you will see the coffee shop. That is the one that we had used. You can immediately go and edit it with Brizy by clicking on Edit with Brizy, or you can view the page first. And those short links are very helpful. This is what we made last time, a very big, splashy and good looking contact form at the bottom with some social icons. And now we will bring in that header. To begin editing, you can go up here to the bar and click on Edit Page with Brizy. Click on that and we open the Brizy page builder. Of course, my hero banner is going to go at the top of the page. So I will have to make a block and take it to the top. What I will do at the beginning though, is I will bring in a new block, I will style it completely, and then I will move its position on the page. So to bring in a new block, you scroll down to the bottom of the page and you follow the same procedure like we've done quite a number of times now. Click on Add a New Block. And then we click on Add a Blank Block. Scroll down to get it into view. Let's work first on the image and then the gradient overlay. For that, I go to the block settings, and that is found here with the settings icon. Click on it, and all the way second from the left is the background. Click on image, and then you find the image you will be using, which is also in a link in the description below. Click on that and select. The image is brought in, and for my display purposes, I want to make sure that every time a person loads my page or this page, that the coffee mug, you can see the mug here, or the coffee cup, is at least in the picture and sort of like the main feature of the picture. To ensure that happens on whatever device you are, you grab this little focus dot in the middle and you just drag it to where you want the focus always to remain. So it doesn't matter what kind of screen I'll be on, whether I'm on a tablet or on a phone, it will focus on this area, making sure that the cup, the mug, is in the picture. And that's all we do for bringing in the image. To give it the overlay, you just go to the icon next to it that says Colors. And over here, we're going to bring in the color. Now, the color that we used previously, if you double click here in the code area, that color was D25200. And that gives us the orange overlay color again. over here, you remember every time we apply it as an overlay, it will come in at around 90% opacity. That's why we can still see the background. But a gradient consists out of two colors. And to apply a gradient, you will see up here is a drop-down bar. If you click on the drop-down, you select gradient. I hope they can make this a toggle feature in the future, because selecting just from two in a drop-down, you know, if it was just two buttons next to each other, that would be very nice. But nevertheless, let's click here and select gradient. And observe what happens here in this area over here after I click on gradient. What you see now is that the gradient has been applied. The orange that I had selected comes in here on the left, and you can grab the slider and you can then affect the transition area like so. And on this side, they apply the green. I am not going to use this green. To select this color to change, because currently we are looking at the orange, you click on the green. So you can see this little circle, currently there's nothing inside, whereas the orange circle, there's a little white dot inside. If I click on the green here, you will see the little white dot is now in there, showing that this is the color that is currently activated. And now I can change the color. So I will double click here in the code area and type in this color. 672A19. It gives me that brown, beige, what kind of funky color that may be. With these two colors though, I want the orange to be here on the right, and I want this brown to be on the left. Well, what I can do is I can change the colors for the two, but you can also go and change the angle of the gradient. Here in the bottom right-hand corner, it's currently set at 90 degrees. Now, also something that I hope that Brizy can include in the feature is a drag handle. So I can just drag and, you know, it will slide to the left or up and the numbers will change. But currently, you will have to put it in manually. So if I type in here 45 degrees, you will see the angle change a little bit. If I wanted to switch completely to that side, I think it's 135. Let's try 245, something like that. Okay, I think that is in the direction we will be going for that. So I put that angle at 245 to get the brown over here and the orange over here. If the degrees confuse you like they do with me, even though I've been working with angles and gradients for decades, they still do confuse me. Then just go up here and change the colors up there. One nifty feature that many of the page builders have when it comes to gradients is to apply a hard gradient. So I'll go up here to the slider, and this is just to show you what can be done. If I grab this one here and I drag it over there into the middle, then I grab the brown one on the right and I drag it all the way on top of that one. You get this hard line. And this can be applied for many nice, interesting visual effects and graphic design. You see? Right. Okay, let's set them back where they were. And what I'll do is I think this is too dark, especially the brown. So I'm going to reduce the opacity. I'll go to the orange and then to the opacity slider on the right. I'll reduce it a little bit. What is that? 80. Let's make it 82. And then for the brown, I click on that and I reduce it. And I'm going to reduce this one much more because for the brown, I only want to apply it as a styling effect. I don't really want to have that strong gradient overlay, but I just want the color, especially on the whites. You know, we often apply it to make the white seem a little bit more brown. And that's what I'm doing here. So, well, where are we? 58%. And there is our background with the overlay. So I think that looks good. We are done with our background and the overlay, and I can click anywhere outside to close my toolbar. The block that we brought in by default comes in with these two columns, and they are placeholders and containers. I often refer to, you know, anything that can have content inside as a container. So what you get when you bring them in is two columns at equal width. So we just call them 50-50, you know, 50% on the left and 50% on the right. With this handle here in the middle, you have seen that if you click and drag on it, you can change the width of the various columns. And at the top of this, there is a heads-up display that gives you the various columns in percentages. So the one on the left is currently at 47.3%, and the one on the right at 52.7%. These are just weird percentages, and I know it gives you a lot of flexibility to move it any way you want to, but again, from a graphic design point of view, try and keep things kind of in good ratios, like 50 to 50, 25%, and keep everything at 25% or 33%, that kind of thing. What I want to do here is I want to have a smaller column here at 1/3 and this column here at 2/3. So I grab the bar in the middle, the handle, click on it, and I drag it until I get to 33 1/3 there. And you will see then the one on the left is at 66.7%. Now I've got two very nice columns, one at 2/3 on the left and the one on the right at 1/3. And I can just let it go. For this column on the right, I want to add an image. Now, like I've shown you how many times, you can go here to the sidebar on the left and you can click on Add Elements. Of course, what you also can do is, if you see this little blue icon with the plus, you can just click here and it will open the sidebar already for you. We will grab an image element here on the left, drag and drop, and then we click on the element to activate the toolbar. To bring in the image, go all the way to the left, click on Image, and then go up, click on Image. And the image we will bring in is this logo of the coffee shop, Premium Coffee Quality. And we click on that. After you clicked on it, select, and it comes in. As it comes in, it will automatically take the width of the column, which is not the perfect solution because, as you can see, the image is actually cut off at the top and at the bottom. So the image will always fit in perfectly from left to right, but top to bottom, it won't. You have to fix that if you want that to display at 100% from top to bottom. To do that, go to the settings of the image, click on it, and go to size. And that's 100%. So the size left to right, basically. Then the height of the image is currently at 81%. It's been squashed down to 81% for it to fit in. So how you get it back at 100 is not to grab the slider. Yeah, you can do that. Then you have to drag it until you get to 100. And you see, I'm skipping it every time. There we are at 100%. But what I recommend you do, if you're there at 81, is you just double click in there and type in 100. And then it will stretch to 100%. And there's my logo. I've brought it in. Click again on it to activate the toolbar, and everything else for this image is perfect. Nothing I have to change for it. To fill out the rest of this hero banner, I will bring in text and then the buttons. So the first thing I'll do is let's work on it one by one. I click on Add Elements. I grab a text module and I drag it in. I'm going to click in it. And the first thing I will do is change the color so that I can see what I'm doing. I click here on colors and I choose the white swatch all the way to the right. Now I go back to the element. I'm going to highlight everything, Control A or Command A on a Mac, and then I'll type in the taste of passion. Taste of passion. Whew. Coffee is so good. And then we begin styling it. Click on the T for typography so we can change our font. And we are going to use the same font as we did over here, which is Good Vibes. Scroll down and until you see Good Vibes over here. And then let's make it bigger. I chose a size of 100. So at size, I'm just going to type in 100. Remember when we worked up here, we reduced the line height. And if you work with one single line, I'll also recommend that unless you are applying it for spacing reasons, which you also shouldn't do. But if you just work with one line like this, you reduce the line height to 1. That will give you better control over the structure of the rest of this box. The rest we're going to leave just as it is, nothing to change here. Underneath this, I just want to bring in some line with a little bit of text to say something about our coffee shop. the taste of passion. So we go and we click up at the top, add elements. We find the text element, drag and drop it until you see the thick gray line appear in just the left-hand column under the text heading element, and you drop it. The first thing I'm going to do is click inside the element and make the color white so we can see what is going on. Next, we go to T for typography and we change our font to Playfair Display. You will notice that I'm using the same fonts as I did up here, and that's a very important element in website design. You choose one or you choose two fonts that are harmonious and work very well together, and you stick to that. You don't go all Comic Sans crazy 1985 on yourself by bringing in every kind of font that you can. Right. Then I'm going to increase the size just a little bit to 18. And because we have a line break here, now you are going to leave your line height at the default. See what happens if I decrease it to 1. It shrinks it, it makes it very difficult to read. That's why I give you the advice. If it is a one single line, like the title, you put it at 1. But if it's multiple lines like this, go to T, line height, you can leave it at the default or a setting that looks better for reading purposes. Let's click outside it to see how it looks. The problem with this is it's a little bit unbalanced. You have this long line going all the way to the right, and then just these few words here. Now, what many people do, and you should never do when working on a website, is they do this. They go inside the element, they click on width in front of width, and then they click in enter. That you should never do because it's going to mess things up when you go into tablets and phones and styling. You just avoid that. Unless you want to start a new paragraph, you do that. But otherwise, if you just want to contain the sentence, do not do that. For that, and I'm going to undo it, Control Z or Command Z on my keyboard. To do that, to squash all of this to the left, I'm going to add space here on the right. And that space will be inside this text element. Every time we talk about space inside an element, we talk about padding. And to do that, go to Settings, More Settings, and then you find the padding over here. As before, the padding is currently connected, so if I grab the slider and I drag it like this, the space is uniformly applied all around. And that's not what I want. So let's put it back at 0, and then you delink those sides. I only want to add the space here on the right. So look for the little bar with the right highlighted in blue. This is the one. And from here, you grab the slider and you drag it. Well, all the way up to 100 pixels, basically nothing happens. And I still want more. But what I'm going to do, instead of using pixels, let's put it back at 0. Instead of using the pixels, I'm going to click on the percentage next to the pixels. Now I will apply a percentage from the right. And this will be, let's drag it so you can see what will happen. I think around, let's see if I can get, should I put the width also? No, I think I need the width still at the top. 36 pixels, that's what I got there. Now I've applied 36% space here on the right. So 36% of this entire element is now space. It's padding. And that 36% is applied on the right. Well, if you want to see if it really works, let's type in there 50. And now you will see exactly in the middle of this element, everything is on this side. So 50% of this is now padding, which is space. Well, that's too big, right? So let's put it back at 36% and it looks good. I'll click outside it so I can see if it looks fine. I think it does. Next part, let's bring in that button. So we go to Add Elements. The button is the second button here at the top. And drag it, or the second icon, and then when you see that line there, you drop it. It's going to give us only this one button, but we're going to style everything in this one button, and then we'll make the second button. Click on the button. The first thing we will do is double click on the text, and we will type in, let's say beans, 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 Mr. Bean, beans. And then we go and style it. What I'll do is click here on button, The size, I'm going to leave it at medium. You can make it small, medium, large, or you can have your own settings. We leave it at medium. The fill, currently with that one, it means it is filled completely with that blue that you see. I want to have a border, but no fill inside. I want to have it transparent. I can do that by changing the color, but Brizy gives me the option here just to click on this one over here, and it will apply that setting by removing the fill inside and have a border. For the corners, I'll leave it like that. And then for the border over here, I will reduce it to 1 pixel. I like a very skinny border. I just like my borders like that. I want to remove that icon. So up here on icon, I just click on it, and then next to icon, click on the X to remove it. We need to style the typography, so you can go to T next for typography, and I'm going to use Playfair Display to keep things uniform. Then I'm going to increase the size up here to around 14, and I'll decrease the line height to about 1.6. For the weight, I'm going to put it on bold to make it stand out a little bit more. The letter spacing is the space between the letters. I think that is okay. The last thing is I need to change the color. As you can see, currently when I hover over it, it gives me blue, and also the border currently is blue. Go to colors, and now we are in the view that you can see when you come onto the page as a visitor, the default view. We don't need to change the background. You can see it's currently set here at 0 opacity, at full transparency. The text is white, we leave it at white, and then the border, click here, and also choose white. Now the border is white. If I hover over it, you still see that the background becomes blue, and I don't want that. To activate the hover state, go here to this little tag on the left that says hover, click on that, and now we're in the background. You can see that's the blue that is applied. I'm going to click on the white. Now if I hover over it, it does this, which is a little too strong because I cannot see what's going on with the words. So I grab the opacity slider and I reduce it. So now when I hover over it, it just slightly do this, which looks very fancy. How did you do that? There you go. And we are done with the colors. I want to put this button here on the left, align it to the left. So at the alignment button over here, I click once to get it to the right, and then I click twice to get it to go to the left. Let's see how that looks. I'm going to click outside. Our button looks good. How to bring in the second button? Now, it is so easy in Brizy that I cannot actually even show you how it usually works. But what usually works is that people will have to bring in a new button like this, and it will appear here at the bottom, and then you have to make all kinds of fancy moves to get it to go up there, or you need to put it in a column within a column. But in Brizy, they've made this super duper easy. If I click here on this button, I go up here to the duplicate function, and I click on that. Voila! Look at that. It's done. There it is. Let's delete this button that we brought in. Click on it, and then click on the trash can, and then let's see. Now we've got these two buttons. Of course, we're not going to call this one also beans. We can double click on it, and let's say contact. Yeah, contact us. I'm just changing it now. Contact us, and let's have a look at it. Right. So styling-wise, our styling is done, but on a graphic design approach, this doesn't look good. And every time things don't look good, it's usually because they are too squashed, there's not enough space, and there are two areas, let's say there are 3 areas we need to bring in space. The first area is in the block. You see, at the top, we always need space, and at the bottom, we also need some space. To do that, you can go to the top of the block until you see the blue bar, click and hold and then drag, and you see the pixel count here in the middle. And let's drag it quite a bit to around 130 pixels. We do the same for the bottom. We go down until we see the blue bar, click and drag, and we make this one a little less at 120 pixels. Okay, and that's how we apply that spacing. Observe just how much better it looks the moment you apply that spacing. So this is another piece of advice. Every time you look at it and it looks wrong, go for space. Just go for the space. You will see how that can make it look so much better. The next part are these buttons. They are too close to this text that we have here. And to add space between these two, we bring in the good element spacer. So click on Add Elements, grab your spacer, drag it until you see the thick gray line between that text element and the two buttons, and let go of it. If we look now at it, is it okay? Let's see how many pixels is this. I click inside the spacer and I go to Settings. And I think, yeah, I want to make it half of that. So let's reduce it to around 30. Yep, I'm there at 30. Let's just type in 30. Give it that little bit of space. I can also go into the spacer, click in it and grab the handle here and drag it up and down. The other problem is these two buttons are too close to each other. That space. And so what you're going to do is you're going to add space. And a nice feature again within Brizy, click on the button, go here to the button icon, and at the bottom, the moment you bring in two buttons, this new option appears called spacing. Now you grab this one and you apply this spacing. So let's see. What is that? 30 pixels? I think that looks okay. 30 pixels? 30 pixels. Let's do that. And there we have made our header. Let's save our work. Control S or Command S on a Mac. And then we go and view it on the front end. So I click here at the bottom on Preview. Right, so this is the contact form we made in the previous tutorial, and I scroll down, and there is our header. I think one thing we should also consider, seeing that this is a header, we should apply some animation to it. So let's close this and let's apply animation. I'm going to start with the image, go to Settings, More Settings, Advanced, and then Entrance Animation. Let's go down, slide in. Yeah, let's say slide in left. Is that right? Slide in left? No, slide in right. I always get confused. Slide in right. And I'm going to give it a little bit more duration by increasing it to 1.7 seconds. Or 1.8. No, there we go, 1.7. That looks okay. And then for these, let's click on the first text and then go to Settings, More Settings, Advanced. And don't mix up your entrance animations. If you are using slide, stick to slide for the rest. Otherwise, it becomes, again, all mumble-jumbled. And we want to keep things consistent. This time I will say slide in left, like that. Again, with duration, I will prolong it so it takes a little bit longer and not that quick. Then for the next text element, I will go to Settings, More Settings, Advanced. We're also going to say slide in left, slide in left. And this one we will keep at that speed, but we will delay it so that it comes in after the first one. So we increase the delay here to around 1. Just a little bit, 1.4. And then for the buttons, this one we're going to apply a different style of animation. So what we'll do is we'll go to this button, click on it, and we will just say fade in. Animation under Advanced and fade in. Fade in is one of those functions that can be used at all times with any of the other kinds of animations. It won't impose on it, but we'll delay it by 2 seconds. So we increase the delay here. And the duration, 1 second, yeah, I think that's good. Let's click outside it. Let's save our work. Control S and Command S. Let's go preview those animations, see if they look any good. Click on the preview button. Look at our contact form first and slide down. Okay. We are done and we are not done. You know what's going to come next, and that is our responsiveness. Let's go have a look at how this will display on a tablet. So click here on the responsive icon and choose tablet. And currently it looks like this. All right. Now, in essence, this is not bad. But let's look at one of the features that we have with columns. And columns always become a problem kind of on tablets. So you see, currently we have the two columns here. If I go to the top here at the column settings, which is this little blue circle, and I click on it, there's a new button that appears up here. And this will reverse column direction. There are many reasons we would want to reverse the column direction. And in this case, I'm going to do it for, well, presentation purposes. If I click on it, this column will exchange places with this column. Observe. Now you see it looks just a little bit different and it looks a little bit better on a tablet. I can even do the following. I go to this column, I grab the handlebar in the middle, and I increase the size just a little bit. And now I have this display on my tablet. This is a different kind of layout that also works. So you can decide you want it like this, or if you decrease it again to, I think it was at 33%, if you want to keep it like that. Or you can maintain the original. I actually like it a little bit bigger like this. I can even increase it a lot. Now, let's not go all Godzilla on ourselves, but that is not a bad display. Then the next one, we go and have a look at mobile. Now, when you get to mobile, it keeps the original setting as per the original desktop view. So again, the first column appears at the top and the second column here at the bottom. But now, in this case, it doesn't make any sense that you have all of this at the top and then the logo comes second. That layout is just a no-no. If it is landscape, the two columns next to each other, that can work. But if it's like this, one on top of the other, the logo has to go first. So I'm going to reverse the column order. I go up here to the settings of the columns, click on it, and click on reverse order. And just alone by doing that, I don't have to change anything else. It looks good. Right. So let's go to our desktop and see how it looks. Yup. Except remember what is seriously wrong with our page. And that is our hero banner is at the bottom and our contact form is at the top. And to move that, you go to the sidebar here, to this icon that says reorder blocks. And then you will see these two blocks that we've made appear here in the panel. You can do two things from here. One, you can delete the block. If you don't want to work with it anymore, you just click here on delete. But the reorder function is the great feature that we are going to use here. And to take this block all the way to the top, the only thing you need to do is click and drag it up to the top and let go. Now if we click again inside, now the things are at least chronologically or logically laid out on our page. If you are working on a real coffee site, of course, you're going to have a lot of blocks with other things here in the middle, like information, testimonials, products even, your shop information. So that will all come between these two. For this tutorial then, a great hero image we've made for this website. In the previous one, we made an excellent contact form at the bottom. So in the next tutorial, I'm going to bring in some information between these two for the coffee shop. And I'm going to show you how we can apply negative margins in a very creative way to make our website just look a little bit more oomphy than normally it would be if we just stick to the same old margins. Same old, same old. So hold on for that because the margins is quite a tricky one. And it's something that even you've been working with it for a long time, it can still surprise you every time when you apply negative margins like, what's going on now? So see you in the next tutorial. This is JP with Brizy for Beginners.